Hello and welcome. You're watching QTV and you are watching the Week in Review. Across the table from me, a friend and colleague Mohamed Mboj. Mr. Mboj, as ever, welcome to the program.
As ever, my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And just to say that once again, I have to apologize for the fact that our sign language interpreter, Lamindi Sonko, is not able to be with us this week. We hope he'll be back. We promise, but I can't tell you when. So the program is called The Week in Review for a very good reason. We review 10 big and or interesting stories, as far as we think, of the week just gone by, and we kick them around, we discuss them in some detail. So for example, this week we'll be looking at an operation by the Gambia Police Force and the Gambia Immigration folks in Jinak regarding migration and irregular migration particularly. Also, when we talk about migration, we tend to think about, just the boats and this, what they call the backway here. But also, what about document fraud that is kind of used in migration matters? Also, this week, a big case in the International Court of Justice, the Gambia versus Myanmar. Finally, they're getting down to hearing evidence, including from some victims. And also, Professor Jibril Fall, a renowned migration policy expert. Yes, he's a Gambian. We sat down and we talked to him, and he had some very, very interesting things to say about the whole diaspora, migration, etc. Many, many subjects. Also, Gambia football and Gambian sports has been deprived of seeing particularly the national team, the Scorpions, at a time when we have some very good players playing at home. Why? Because our stadium was deemed unfit. Our sports minister has been there and he's had a look and he's been quite impressed, and we'll hear and we'll see why he's impressed. And also Saturday, the country of Guinea-Conakry, as we have to keep saying now so you don't mistake them for Guinea-Bissau, inaugurated Mamadi Doumbouya as its president after a recent election in which he swept the boards. Of course he did. Also abroad, the United States, they've suspended immigration visas, immigrant visas for 75 countries. You know why we're here. Gambia is one of them. And also an alleged jungler has appeared in court. So these are some of the stories we'll hear. We'll also hear about Museveni in Uganda. He's won yet again. And also in Niger, Alliance of Sahel States. One of the Alliance of Sahel States, they've suspended and revoked licenses of some drivers who seemed too scared or cowardly, as the military might see it. They're going to face guns and bombs and being kidnapped. But anyway, those are the stories on today's program. So get things up and running. Immigration, irregular migration has become a hot topic ever since I've been in the Gambia. It seems to be getting hotter and hotter because on a daily, almost, I was going to say weekly, but almost on a daily basis rather, we're seeing and we're hearing about boats that made it or didn't make it, boats that capsized and so on. And so the police force and the immigration folks have been to some of the communities to interact with them to try and curb this trade in human beings, which is really what it is. Have a look, have a listen.
The joint security engagement followed the tragic capsizing of a migrant boat near Jinak on December 31st, which resulted in confirmed fatalities exceeding 20, including 16 bodies recovered from Senegalese waters. Gambia Police Force, Jinak has increasingly been used as a route for irregular migration to Europe, often by foreign nationals who exploit local communities for personal gain. Security representatives clarified that recent interventions were not intended to target communities, but to dismantle criminal networks that profit from irregular migration. Representatives from the Drug Law Enforcement Agency said that investigations revealed that some boats carried up to 200 migrants, each paying at least $50,000. Such operations, they said, turn organizers into millionaires at the expense of vulnerable youths and affected communities. Security agencies also addressed concerns surrounding the arrest of 9 natives of the North Bank region linked to the incident, confirming that their cases are currently before the courts. In response, community leaders welcomed the engagement and pledged the community's commitment to working closely with authorities.
So they've said they will work closely with authorities and Mr. Mboj, and for anybody who's not in the Gambia, I have to mention this because when the police posted the video of their activities in Jinak, one of the most frequently commented things was, why are none of you wearing your uniforms? Now, if you're living outside of the Gambia, there apparently is a superstition that if a policeman or police personnel go into Jinak wearing their police uniform, when they return to base, they will lose their job or something dreadful will happen to them. And it seems the police have bought into that. They were not wearing their uniforms. Mr. Mboj, that aside, they're interacting with the community and saying that we've been tipped off that you're actually harboring these people for days, sometimes a couple of weeks before they make these journeys. So you must know that that is their intention. We want you to stop it because you might be saving somebody's life by not doing this and encouraging them to go on this journey. Is that likely to work?
That's an interesting question. But for us, for a very long time, we've had limited state presence on the island.
In the island.
It's quite isolated in
quite.
Accessible only by boat.
Yeah.
Mangroves,
that's right.
sandy shores.
Which is why it's an ideal place to hide.
It's an ideal place for certain things. And the location as well. Mouth of the river,
No,
where it meets the Atlantic Ocean and
it's
that
ideal.
sort of thing. It's ideal. A friend of mine, we were discussing this the other day. He said to me, we were talking about the myths around Jinak. He said to me, if we had intelligence, that they were plotting against the government, I'm telling you, the police or whoever, they'll be there before you blink. That sort of thing. That's what it is. So this is the key. We know the reasons, to some extent, why people go there. So this engagement, isn't it? Local authorities, community leaders, religious people, youth representatives, and all of that. What do you hope to achieve?
Go ahead.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Do the leaders, as it were, really speak for the people?
Yeah, I mean, there was a curious statement by one of the policemen at the meeting. He said, if you find strangers amongst yourselves, we want you to report them to us. I mean, that's hardly likely to happen, is it?
Absolutely.
Because, you know, the belief is that some of these communities actually benefit from it because these people come, they don't stay for free. They pay something for you to keep stum about their presence. You put something in your pocket. You know, what are you offering them if you're saying don't do it?
That's it. And there's the bigger issue, isn't it? Sort of the social pressure. Who was it that wrote a piece recently? Was it somebody called Malhaji Drame or something, touching on that aspect?
Yes, indeed.
The social pressure, as it were. That is why I asked the question whether really the leaders were really speaking for the people.
That's right.
If there is not that buy-in, if you don't have that buy-in, it's difficult to really enforce rules and laws, isn't it? That's really what our issue is. We see it all over the place, as it were. So this is the key. What are we going to do about that? Really?
So you're engaging communities, but to what end? And the piece you mentioned, which was circulated through various media houses, including ourselves and the newspapers, the reason he felt very strongly about it was he said he got fed up of hearing people saying it's unemployment that's driving. He said it's a lot more complex than that, a lot more nuanced than that, and he wished people to address it in that way. And yes, and he was right. Of course, he is right.
That's absolutely it. You see, when I look at the bigger picture, fundamentally, it's about governance and the state, isn't it? The economics, what's happening, as it were, the opportunities it creates, and all of that to inspire confidence. We all know that.
That's right.
But that is really a long-term project.
Yes.
Because of the scale of our problem, the severity of it, it's a longer-term project. So in the meantime, what do I say? You know what I mean? There is a problem right now. So what do I do? What are the steps that I can take? The low-hanging fruit. What is it that I can do? So that's where we need to begin. But it's really interesting that the GID, Immigration Department, the other day, are bemoaning the fact that we do not have a law regarding migrant smuggling. We've got the trafficking bit, but not quite the smuggling, which is entirely different.
Where people do it as a business.
And people do it as a business. So how do you deal with that? You know what I mean? First, of course, you're going to have the legislation and then the mechanism in place to be able to implement. That's one aspect. And I do hear stuff like trade market, as it were, dominated by foreigners.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
we hear that the migrants, the boats we intercept, the people, yes, we have lots of foreigners.
A lot more foreigners are coming now.
But when it comes to the smugglers, what's the evidence out there that they are dominated by foreigners? I suspect that for them to have the trade, to headquarter, as it were, the trade
you have to be a local.
You need to have a local. There are important local associates, to say the least. Isn't it? That's another aspect. And in our report, we said that there were, 9 people from NBR now before the courts. So, which got me thinking, charged with what? Since we do not have migrants. Then you might tell me that, well, they are invoking all the provisions in the law, to which I'll say, how come they had not done so in the past?
Why
not? They were complaining about the fact that we do not have this.
That's right.
So there are some questions we need to ask. And yes, that's a good thing, engage the people, but to make it work, you need to do other stuff, and the initiative must come from government.
Has to. Thank you for that. Thank you. And on a related matter, document security and fraud detection training. This is for Gambia Immigration Department officials around the fact that people come and travel with forged documents quite a lot, because in this country it's quite easy to pay for a forged document as it is in many other African countries. Have a look and have a listen.
We believe that sustainable migration management requires more than strategies on paper. It requires hands-on collaboration between professionals, mutual learning, and the strengthening of institutional capacity.
Stefani Schwartz.
The expansion of the training is both timely and strategic. It ensures that larger number of frontline officers are adequately equipped to respond to emergency threats and border control.
Inspector Dembo.
Technologies are new technologies in the Gambia. So from this training, we are expected to at least know a lot about how do we deal with e-passport and an e-visa, so that we can counter a lot of fraud that comes to our borders.
The training is expected.
We were saying that the training is expected to improve and equip and also capacitize our officials. Samboj, this one, you were saying in another context that sometimes people think, oh, because you digitize this, it solves the problem. It doesn't. Whatever the scheme is, there will always be a way around it. So even the kind of digitization or digitalization of a particular scheme, people will always find a way around it. And of course, sometimes they think the biometric thing is the answer. Sometimes it is, but not always.
That's it. We've been saying this for a very long time. Writers have observed that any system really is as good as the people.
Yeah, quite.
You know what I mean? So this is why really the system in itself, the technology and all the rest of it in itself wouldn't help.
Yeah,
though it is necessary.
Yeah, sure.
You see, this is where sometimes we confuse necessity with sufficiency.
Well, indeed.
It is necessary but not sufficient to give you the kind of outcomes you want.
Because you need people to operate it.
You need people
and those
to
people
operate
need to be up
it.
to a certain level of skill.
Absolutely. And people can find all kinds of ways to bypass it if there is no buy-in or you don't have this sort of regulation or the kind of mechanisms in place that would force me, as it were, to do the right thing. So there are all sorts of issues that we must confront, deal with, for this to give us the outcomes that we want. I understand that we're putting in all kinds of systems. There's this rather long one, the Civil Aviation and Immigration Security System, CIASS, which will really, we're doing it in together with Security, I think, for the maybe airport, something like that. Right. So border controls, document checks, screening people. We've got that.
Indeed.
And we've got, I was reading the other time, Midas, as it were. I hope it's got the touch, as it were. This is Migration Information and Data Analysis System. They're all put in place to give us, certain outcomes. But again, having said that, what are the institutional weaknesses that would undermine their effectiveness? As we always say, the infrastructure gaps. Everybody knows about that. Resource limitations and the like. Apparently, there's not even a forensic lab for deep analysis of documents. So we know that there are all of these things. And I read certain reports saying that risk of corruption.
Yeah, right.
In the issuance and control of some of these
Which is huge, and
documents.
there's a point I was going to come to,
Exactly.
because you know, I'm aware of instances, not in the Gambia, admittedly, but in Sierra Leone, but I suspect it could also happen in the Gambia. Somebody who was deported from the UK, who happened to be a friend of mine, went back to Sierra Leone and came back with a new name, new identity, and new passport.
Oh, I've heard numerous in this country as
and
well.
this is a good friend, and I'm
Yeah.
not making this up.
No.
So it can be done. So corruption is the thing.
In our systems, that is always the risk.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it really? That's why, what are the names, the various names that our systems have acquired? Rent collecting regimes. You know what I mean?
Right,
Yes.
right.
So where it's sort of like corruption is almost institutionalized.
Yes, because
It's
we
quite
kind of
extraordinary.
we give them these kind of jokey names,
Yes.
and it tells you that we don't take them seriously.
That is the ultimate challenge, Ali.
Yeah.
Have all the systems you want. That is really the ultimate challenge, really. That is the holy grail to my mind. How do we conquer ourselves as human beings with these certain habits? That's really what the issue is in the end. But, you know, installing systems, fantastic. Earlier on, we made a distinction between necessity and sufficiency. Necessary to do so in our age. Is it sufficient? That's the question.
Big question there. Thank you for that. So there'll be lots of imponderables today as we go through the show. Story number 3, International Court of Justice is finally getting around to hearing the case of the Gambia versus Myanmar. What's that all about? Have a look, have a listen.
Sadly, Myanmar appears to be trapped in a cycle of atrocities and impunities. Nobody has been held responsible for the crimes against the Rohingya. Mr. President, while Gambia is the only applicant state, we are not alone in this cause for justice and accountability. Indeed, as the General Assembly stated in 1946, genocide shocks the conscience of mankind. And
17.
A 2018 United Nations fact-finding mission concluded that Myanmar's security forces acted with genocidal intent, stating that everyone was a target, no one was spared. The report documented widespread rape and other forms of sexual violence against women and girls. Myanmar's
Although terrible killings undoubtedly have occurred in this appalling case, it has to be underscored that the other modalities of the actus reus are just as central to the Gambia's case as acts of killing.
The case is the
Sometimes these lawyers try and blind you with Latin. The actus reus, the guilty deed, the guilty act, has to be proven. Is kind of, and the last chap we heard there was, of course, one of Myanmar's counsels, Mr. Mberge. I said in the lead up that we've finally got to the stage where evidence now. There's been fact-finding missions. There's been preliminary arguments about whether, you know, despite the fact that both countries were signatories to the convention, whether the case could be heard by the court. That's been settled. It is now being heard, and this is where we find ourselves now.
Yes, one analyst referred to it as the gatekeeping stage of it, whether we've presented enough evidence to make the charge of genocide applicable here within the context of the Genocide Convention, that sort of thing. Oh, absolutely. And you read many of these analysts, this is a significant case, quite extraordinary. In many ways, the first time that a small country, look at this, the smallest country on mainland Africa, sort of initiate something like this. I think afterwards we've been joined by 11 other states and that sort of thing. That's right. And that's it. There's something that we are testing here, which will have implications for other situations, as it were, wouldn't it? Yes. And look at what's going on right now in Gaza. It's an interesting one.
That's right.
Good number of bodies have characterized it as genocide. What's going on here? What implications would it have on that? But again, that example as well also serves sort of how politics really can upend sort of these
search
ideals, that's where this search for justice. It's a complex one, but it's important we have this voice there, isn't it?
Sure.
Really.
And the case has just started, so, you know, the kind of still early skirmishes, one might say, but we've been following it day by day, and we wait and see. So the Gambia is still has the floor in terms of presenting both the evidence and bringing witnesses, and then, you know, as it goes on, Myanmar will bring its own case and its own witnesses, if that's the case. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We were listening to our Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Dawda Jallow. I'm there. So this is it. In many ways, diplomatically, at least during Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara's time, we punched above our weight.
Sure.
Are we rediscovering that? Because here, the situation, this is really what we're doing, as it were. So there was a voice that we represented. But Sir Dawda's strength was that he really believed in it. His rule at home was sort of consonant, as it were, to what he did internationally. So where we have a certain discongruence, if one can call it that, between what I do and the ideas I speak to. You see, when I face the world, what ideas do I speak to? But am I doing that back home? This is where your credibility, your authority will lie. Really.
Yeah, so the case, as I said, is just started.
It's just started.
We're watching it eagerly. The last case of this type was 20 years ago.
That's it.
Srebrenica. So
exactly, you know, Serbia and has a governor.
That's right.
In that, absolutely.
That's right.
They found that there was actually genocide in Srebrenica.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. So we, as I said, we watch it eagerly. Item number 4, story number 4, very different one. Professor Jibril Fall, whom I know personally, in case anybody accuses me of nepotism or something, was recently in the country, and he's still around, and we thought we can't let him go without talking to him and delving into his kind of vast well of experience. And he spoke on a number of topics, including some you're going to hear now. Have a look, have a listen.
I left Gambia many years before dictatorship. I left Gambia in 1987, as in my teens, to go to university. So there were many years of democracy before you had the overthrow. So you then had almost like a generation of isolation. During that time, there was a time when the Gambia was the #1 in Africa, except Cape Verde, where you have the highest number of its graduates being outside.
Reflecting on the...
To have a space where all of the different sectors that act in development can get together in a safe, friendly, and honest space to dialogue. And we may have forgotten, due to the joys and beauties of peace and democracy, that during the dictatorship years, that was impossible. So you needed that forum.
It is without that.
Yeah, just almost immediately a degree of elitism, straight away, because you're talking of policymakers, senior government officials, university students, even the civil society, the people in the civil society, people who are educated, run these organizations. So there is that degree of it. The point is it still impactful for what it wants to do? Yes.
He's asked, asked the crucial question, is it still impactful? Our colleague Esonyasi was asking him there, isn't this all a bit elitist? You and I think, believe there's nothing wrong with elitism per se. And as he went on to say, you know, policymakers and so on, because if you think about it, the stake in the nation is almost there in the name. The diaspora, you know, people have tended to see them as a kind of ATM, always sending money, but they've also wanted to be involved. So involved in what? In making policy in the very country to which you're sending money, to which you may even hope to return at some stage. And so this is kind of the basis on why we wanted to call him in rather, and speak to him. As I said, he's very much an expert who gets called and to speak at the UN General Assembly and other places about matters of this nature.
Absolutely. Given our situation right now and where we want to go, institutions such as his and others, they are facilitators, aren't they?
Very much.
In many ways. They allow us to go beyond mere remittances. I think that point came out. Skills transfer, investments, there are all sorts of ways. I've for long said that maybe the next big crucial turning point will be initiated by the diaspora. When I say that, it's a controversial stuff because we think that I'm being condescending towards what we are and that sort of thing. But the world we're living in, we mentioned elitism. There's nothing wrong with elitism. I think what is wrong is the what is called the bourgeoisification, as it were, of the elite. Is it the bourgeois? You're more interested in the materialistic aspects of things. We've got a big house, car, the name, the prestige and status and that sort of thing. The genuine elite really developed Europe. It developed the U.S. It is the elite who have the sort of the know-how, the training and that sort of thing. So the point is here, though, there's been this disconnect.
I think that's
between the point, elite, isn't it, and really the so-called ordinary folks, isn't it? The sympathy is gone. We are like the internal colonizer. Really, some of us who had some kind of education and independence, we took over the colonial state. Who were the people? So it's just a matter of reconnecting to the people and creating a genuine elite.
A
genuine elite. They work for the people, but they just want the best, as it were, to do the work. We all have football teams. I want the best to play. There's really nothing wrong with elitism. Snobbery, that's a problem. Bourgeoisification, that's a problem. Not elitism. And that's what we need to rediscover. So fantastic there. So how do we practicalize these things that we know? You need the right people in government. Do they understand? Are they committed? We'll see. So much can happen with the diaspora. We've seen in other countries how they've harnessed this. So how are we going to harness it? I think we're still trying to work out how to do it.
Very much so. Thank you for that, Mr. Ambrose. And that takes us to story number 5, which will also take us to the midway point in terms of stories anyway. The sports minister, Bakari Y. Baji, recently went to the Independence Stadium. He took a tour of the stadium and he was impressed enough to speak to journalists and the media afterwards. Here is some of what he had to say.
Committee, the project aims to restore the Independence Stadium's eligibility to host CAF-sanctioned international matches. Previously declared non-compliant, the facility is undergoing major structural safety and accessibility upgrades. Notably, the seating capacity has been reduced to 12,000 from earlier estimates of 25,000, prioritizing safety, crowd management and compliance with CAF and FIFA standards. Minister Baji stresses that the reduced capacity is necessary to meet modern safety regulations and secure approval for international events.
In the final safety inspection, it will normally have it somewhere on top, and they can use the elevator and go up. In stadiums like this, then you have to create a platform for them.
The renovation also includes upgrading the athletics track to international standards, allowing the stadium to host regional track and field events and improve training for Gambian athletes. Engineers from the Ministry of Works are overseeing the project, with lead consultant Ibrahim Akoli confirming that the hybrid grass pitch is being reinforced with modern turf technology, improved drainage and irrigation for better durability and playability. This will be followed by a final inspection by CAF before the stadium can host official matches.
In just a few days' time, we will start the seeding. The artificial turf that is there before is there. We did not remove it. We just add some sand on top of it to have a reinforcement and put new seed on it.
The Independence Stadium, the Gambia's primary sports venue since its opening in 1984, and despite a major renovation in 2011, fell short of CAF and FIFA standards, resulting in bans on international matches. The phased renovation, launched in 2022, addresses these gaps. Once completed, the upgraded stadium will be able to reclaim its status as a premier venue for national and international sporting and other events, offering a modern...
Mr. Mboj, so I don't contradict myself. We discussed this on Q Sports, myself and Pakaba Suso, and what I said there was the minister was impressed, but he's not the one who's going to make the final call as to whether it's fit. And also, I have to say, I was genuinely shocked that they had slashed the capacity in half. 12,500 is all we're being allowed, or 12,000 from 25,000. That's quite a big, and FIFA and CAF are saying because of safety. So quite a big one. I mean, as I said, for me, that was like the biggest kind of talking point.
That's it. But we cannot compromise on safety.
Indeed.
So you accept for now and see what you can do later on. So yes, they've expressed confidence that we're going to host the next event.
Lot of AFCON qualifiers.
Yes, in June.
In June. It's so just around the corner, really.
That's it.
So quite a bold prediction by the minister.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens. We know that there's a problem there. How did we get there in the first place?
Thank you.
Have we thought about it? How are we going to address it? This is quite embarrassing to some extent nationally, that you cannot hold international matches.
In the same predicament.
That sort of thing. This is it. There was a time when we could, so things degenerated, obviously. What lessons have we learned?
And that's the point I was making to Pakaba. You know, it'll be all new and shiny when it's finished and they give us the go-ahead. But have they thought about why we got here and the maintenance culture that we need to instill to make sure we don't get back to where we are now, where we can't play games at home?
But because this is the issue. If the problem is really structural, you can change people.
About what we were saying in another context.
You can change people all the time, but you're going to get the same results.
That's it.
So it's only by confronting, dealing with the structural issues that you have the best chance. Nothing is guaranteed, mind you. This is why public policy is really difficult. Running organizations, that's really very, very difficult. Nothing is guaranteed. It's like you have to take certain risks. And what do you do? How much of an action person are you? You know what I mean? So there's so much sort of into this, whether you get what you want or not. So we'll see now going forward what happens. No need really to rake over ashes, as it were. What's past is past. So going forward now, what? Say they've given... Well, I'm not sure whether I can call it guarantee, but they are optimistic. Yes, they are optimistic that June we'll have whatever. Then going forward, you know, we'll host a match.
As they say, all to play for. We wait and see. Well, thank you for that. That takes us to a midway point, and we'll go for a commercial break. And after the commercial break, guess what? 5 more stories still to come. So do not go away. Join us after this break.
Q Money is changing the game with mobile money payment. Now, you can pay your QCell mobile broadband plan faster, easier, and way more convenient with your Q Money wallet. Just open the Q Money app or dial *323#. Select option 4 to buy or pay your broadband plan in seconds. No stress, no lines, no last-minute panic. Whether you're streaming your favorite shows, browsing the web, or working from home, stay connected without missing a beat. Stay connected the easy way with Q-Money's QCell mobile broadband payments anytime, anywhere. For more information, call customer care on 133. Q-Money. Senior Carpet. Terms and conditions apply. QCell, the fastest growing network in the Gambia, now presents to you the eSIM. QCell's eSIM allows you to electronically scan a code and join the world of digital SIM cards. Customers with physical SIMs can easily switch to the eSIM as well. So rush now and get connected with an eSIM and start using the latest mobile technology with your trusted GSM operator. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Bus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello and welcome back. You are watching QTV and you are watching The Week in Review. And if you're joining us at this point, it means you've missed 5 really, really good stories. But I'll tell you, the 5 we've got are equally good. And here across the room, I have friend and colleague Mboj, Mr. Mboj. Thank you for your interjections thus far.
Cheers,
Thank you. And once again, I apologize for the absence of our sign language interpreter, Lamindi Sonko. We hope to have him back very, very soon. So let's press on. Story number 6. Coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya has then decided that he was going to run for president, having, of course, said he wasn't going to. And, of course, he won, and his inauguration took place Saturday. And very interesting it was to have a look, have a listen.
Neither I nor any member of this transition will be a candidate for anything. As soldiers, we value our every word. Those were the words of the then Colonel, later General Mamadi Doumbouya, in September 2021, after ousting civilian President Alpha Condé. Remarkations. In September 2025, Guineans approved a new constitution via referendum, a move that allowed members of the ruling junta to contest elections. After what he said was the public's mandate, Doumbouya then entered the race, which went ahead without any key opposition figures who were barred from contesting and won 86.7%. Doumbouya's tenure as head of the transition government was marked by restrictions on civic space, including the banning of protests and the suspension of political activities, including most of the strongest political parties. In that time, he has made extensive use of state media to paint himself as Guinea's savior, with his flagship Simandou 2040, which he says will use the country's mineral wealth to make it a middle-income country by that date.
And there we heard from our colleague Jacqueline Colley, as she says there, he's used state media very, very well, and all you see is him, to the extent that when they gave all the other candidates 5 minutes each on Guinean television to state their case as to why they should be president, there was one notable absentee, and that, of course, was the man himself, Mamadi Doumbouya. Inaugurated President Barrow was there, Diomaye Faye, Ould of Mauritania was there, Wakai from Liberia, Paul Kagame was there, Brice from Chad. Lots of presidents turned up from Gabon, I beg your pardon. Lots of presidents from across Africa were there for the inauguration, and very grand it was too at the Lansana Conte Stadium. Ironically.
That's it.
Yes.
Look at the way in which he came into office, what he said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We hear it every time.
We hear it all the time.
Yes.
And yet it didn't stop, as it were, this sort of stellar, as it were, array of presidents and the like. I think this is it. I think pragmatism, as it were, sort of won over any kind of principled stands and that sort of thing. It is just the way things are now. The army, the soldiers, how can others sort of take heart from this? That maybe if we do it, at some point we'll get recognition.
Well, this is it, and his recognition extended to the fact that Dr. Toure of the Commission was there with several of the commissioners, the ECOWAS Commission, if anybody is unaware which Dr. Toure I'm talking about. And so that really he would have seen as a kind of stamp of approval, particularly, of course, because the Alliance of Sahel States were trying to court him and get him to join them, and he refused. He said, no, I'm going on a different path. So, very much the fact that Dr. Toure and his commissioners were there for the inauguration, I saw them, and in fact, they even had private audience with him, was a sign that, yes, we're embracing you because, to all intents, you've become Guinea's only is second democratically elected leader, by the way, which is remarkable.
And when you contrast this now with what was said in the beginning, after they had taken over, and the reaction afterwards, the creation of this Alliance of Sahel States, and that really scared them. So look at them. I think in the beginning, they erred, as it were, towards overreaction in many ways. And look at them now. They're reversing it all the way back.
Running to embrace him.
Yes, which is not to blame them, as it were, but we're just facing some we are in very interesting geopolitical times. And I think strategically, this is not a bad thing at all. How do you help them do better in governance? Because by being censorious and making all sorts of threats, they wouldn't change anything. So try to bring them into the fold. Maybe things might work then. I think it's strategically good.
I think it's strategically very clever. Thank you for that. Story number 7, the United States. the President of the United States, Donald Trump, in his second term, has been, for my monitoring, and I monitor the news every day, I don't think he has been out of the news for a single day since he resumed office. And recently, the State Department published a list of 75 countries that they were going to suspend immigrant visa applications from, the Gambia being one of them. Have a look, have a listen.
Our visa system, okay, who you allow to visit your country should reflect the national interest. We said that from the very beginning. It was one of the directives that we got from the president.
That was the post applies specifically to immigrant visas, not to non-immigrant visas such as students or visitor visas. The post applies to people applying for a green card or immigrant visa through family or employment channels. While applicants may still submit applications and attend interviews, U.S. consulates will not issue immigrant visas to citizens of affected countries during the review period. Many Gambians say the decision
is truly unfortunate because every household hopes that people can travel to earn an income and return home, but that has now become a challenge. Previously, anyone seeking to go to the U.S. had to deposit $15,000, but now visas are not being issued at all. Our government should engage with the U.S., enter into dialogue and find a way to lift this suspension. I understand that the
enter into dialogue to lift the suspension, that's hardly likely to happen. But also, what I got the sense of from the people we spoke to in the streets, that they've misunderstood the type of visa that is being denied. It's the kind where you get a visa, as we said in the report, to go and join a family. You might be a husband who, your wife is here, your children are here, and you get a visa for them to go and join you and stay there. Those are the ones that are being denied. In our immediate vicinity, a couple of countries were noticeable by their absence from that list. I don't want to get them into trouble, but Mauritania and Guinea-Bissau were not included. But you had Senegal, you had Cape Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Nigeria, and who else? In all, there were 9 countries in West Africa that were on the list. And yeah, yet another sort of twist by this current government, the government very much in the image of its president, Donald Trump.
Absolutely. When I think of Donald Trump, I think of the sort of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that sort of thing.
People don't know that. You need to go look it up online. The internet
His
now
chainsaw,
means you can
unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely.
Scything through
all sorts
everything.
Of big time. Whatever reasons, you see, it's difficult to really engage with Trump's administration. They can lie, that is not the problem, or they can say one thing one day, change it the next. So something as erratic as that, how do you engage with that? It's really very difficult. We understand that his politics is now quite transactional. But does it just, is that it? There's a MAGA project of some sort, isn't it, behind the scenes? So anybody who just sort of focuses exclusively on the transactional stuff, maybe you're missing something, because what he's doing in the U.S. itself points, in that direction, as it were. So this is it. Let's wake up. What do we do here?
That's right.
Yes, this is for sort of non-immigrant visas, for instance. So it wouldn't affect, I think, students and visitors. It wouldn't affect those. So people who want to join family or they've got employment and that sort of thing.
You're the ones who have
so this is the reality. What do you do with it? How far? What leverage do we have in our discussions with the U.S. to help us, whatever? We should explore. It doesn't mean that you just give up or we don't have anything. Obviously, diplomacy, the way it is, you just never know, especially somebody as erratic as that. At least explore what can you do? What else can we do? We just face this hard reality.
This is it. We're all scratching our heads as to what to do next. But thank you for that, Mr. Mboch. Story number 8, Sana Manjang, an alleged jungler, one of ex-President Yahya Jammeh's so-called hit squad, was captured and brought to justice, or brought before the courts, I should say, here in the Gambia, and he had another appearance in court this week just past. Have a look, have a listen.
Manjang is accused of killing two men, Kajali Jame, also known as Lekok, whose throat was allegedly slit, and Samba Wuri, who was reportedly stabbed in the chest. In court, Manjang's defense lawyer Sharif K. Job argued that the charges have no legal foundation. He pointed out that the criminal code under which Manjang is being charged has since been repealed and replaced by the new Criminal Offences Act of 2025. However, State Prosecutor E.R. Dugan responded, saying the law still allows the state to pursue charges based on the laws that were in place at the time the alleged crimes occurred. Justice C.D.K. Jobate agreed with the prosecution, stating that criminal responsibility is based on the law at the time of the offense, not the law at the time of the trial. As a result, the judge dismissed the preliminary objection raised by the defense, allowing the murder trial to proceed. The case has now been adjourned to the 9th of February for further hearing.
Adjourned to the 9th of February, and there we heard, as I said in the off-camera, a lawyer earning his money for the defense, arguing, you can't try my client. But murder is murder, and the state have charged him with 2 counts of murder. And so even if the thing, as the judge said, at the time you committed the crime, that was the law. And the lawyer was saying, yeah, but that law has been repealed and replaced by something else. Why are you charging my client with something else? But as I said, murder is still, even in the new act, is there. And so, yeah, the penalties have changed, but it's
well, the law is at the time of the offense. Not at the time of the trial. Very simple. One could have had that, actually. So, yes, so we move on. He's earning his money, the defense lawyer is trying to, whatever. But here the judge agreed with the prosecution. So, case adjourned till the 9th.
Yeah, and so yet another jungler brought to trial, this time in the Gambia, not outside. And that, again, is somebody who's studying law told me that they've been told to pay particular attention to this case. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I suspect that, he, together with Yankuba Toure, because Toure really didn't want to be part of the TRRC process, as it were.
That's right.
And Manjang as well wasn't part of it. So maybe this is a strategy now. Those who are not part of it, when we apprehend you and we've got evidence to charge you from, in certain cases, why not go ahead with it?
That's
and
right.
those with the TRRC, obviously, there were certain conditions, and we have to accept that. That is the nature of such commissions, isn't it?
Indeed.
So you come to some kind of understanding, be honest, and then we'll consider A, B, C, and D. Unfortunately, that is it. Even though really, a lot of people hurt, a lot of people say these people self-confessed murderers working free, that really hurts. But unfortunately, it's a nature of these things. It's really very difficult. But for our credibility as a nation, isn't it? We have to swallow certain things, and that's really what we're doing now. We are swallowing things that are really very difficult to swallow.
Very difficult, and South Africa kind of set the bar with its Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where they made those pledges that if you come and you confess, you will not face the full extent of the law that you otherwise might face. And others followed. Sierra Leone followed it, and so on and so on. Liberia followed it, and we also followed it.
And here we are. So there's a logic, as it were, to that kind of mechanism, as it were, of national reconciliation, if you like. And we have to follow that logic. So in the life of a nation, sometimes you have to accept difficult things. But for the sake of the future, we do.
Yeah, indeed, and we've done so. The case continues, and we will be following it. Thank you for that. Now, we've heard of one leader being elected president for a first time. This chap, it's 7th time that he's contested and won an election. Who am I talking about? You guessed already, of course. Yoweri Museveni, Kaguta himself of Uganda. Have a look, have a listen.
Museveni, 81, has ruled Uganda since 1986 and is seeking a 7th term. After voting on Thursday, he said he expected to win about 80% of the vote, adding, if there is no cheating. He even gave a press conference after casting his vote where he made the extraordinary claim that historically it has been the opposition that has cheated in Ugandan elections. It is not a claim supported by any evidence. The vote also took place amid an internet blackout, drawing criticism from international observers. As counting continues, both Ugandans and the international community are watching closely for how far the results will be received. The Electoral Commission
we know now that before we came to do this program, he has been declared the winner with 76.1% of the vote, and Bobby Wine with 20 in low 20s. This is Chagulani, former pop star rapper who has proven himself to be quite an astute politician, and my Ugandan friends who dismissed him when he first announced that he was intended to, they've now had to eat their words and publicly eat their words and say, we misjudged this chap. We thought, oh, he's only a rapper, he doesn't know what he's doing. But he's fought an astute campaign. The last time he got 35%, this time less so. Museveni might be disappointed he didn't get the 80% he wanted, but the press conference referred to by our colleague Lolly M. Kamara, I watched that press conference. It was a 15-minute press conference. After he'd voted, he sat down and he addressed them. He said, you know, people accuse us of... He said, well, of course, historically in Uganda, it's been the opposition that's been cheating and stuffing ballot boxes, which must have had raised eyebrows all around. But there we have it. He's won, again, a 7th victory at the polls, and he's about to be inaugurated in about a week or 10 days' time.
Yes, I mean, attack is the best form of defense. Yep. Whatever they accuse you of, you just reverse, flip it over, and just give it back to them. And I wonder how many presidents will attend his inauguration.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. And just before UN report that the whole atmosphere was just quite repressive and intimidatory towards the opposition with Bobby Wine. How many stories?
And of course, Bobby Wine arrested the day before the final result was announced.
Absolutely. So, well. This is the reality we are in. These are really very difficult times, even though, to be also honest to Museveni, when I read analysts, they were talking about the economy, how much he's done, and what he's turned around. And
preserving the gains was his campaign slogan.
So in certain areas he delivered something. Is just that in any country you go to, same as Ouattara as well, economists will tell you what he's brought. So obviously you're going to have vast pockets of as it were, your population that are not having this and not having that. That's just the nature of African society anyway you go today. So but that's not it. You put all the factors as well into account. And, you know, it's always going to be small gains, as it were. So that's a difficult one. Who am I to say what I'm Ugandan people now? But maybe it's a mixed picture. There's a problem with Museveni. He's all of this. But there's something else. Term limits his age. The people of Uganda will decide.
He's been quite smart in kind of outsmarting both his friends and his opponents, because when the age limit was 70, he got all the MPs to agree that if they voted to remove term limits and age limits, he would then make the parliamentary term 10 years. And of course, they then voted to remove it overwhelmingly because they were all excited. And then the Uganda Bar Association took him to court and said, you can't change the parliamentary term limits to 10 years. And so he got what he wanted. The MPs did not. And so he's been quite clever through the years. But as you say, economically, the country's doing very well. But of course, there are kind of disadvantaged pockets around the nation. And so, and so some people want to believe that he lost without, just out of a kind of sheer sense that he's been there too long, rather than because they've got hard evidence that he lost. But
and the idea of the pockets, that's just a reality. You know what I mean? Nobody wishes it to be so, or excusing it, as it were, being complacent. It's just a fact of life. And the way he's manipulating things, that's what is called statecraft. Any leader, you gotta have statecraft. Absolutely. This is what is democratic politics, is like that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
It's not pure, it's not nice. What did Churchill say? The greatest argument against democracy is 5 minutes discussion with the electorate.
Exactly.
Can you imagine the cynicism in that? With people who believe that democracy is the best in sliced bread. So this is it. This is how democracy works. I'm not sentimental about it.
No need to be. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Mbodj. Final story, and we only have a couple of minutes for this one. Niger, one of the 3 countries in the Alliance of Sahel States, recently revoked the licenses of drivers who were refusing to deliver fuel to Mali. Why were they doing that? Have a look, and this will tell you.
Since September, an armed group associated with Al-Qaeda has targeted fuel transportation, attacking petrol tankers on key highways and extending its campaign beyond military targets to economic infrastructure. Drivers operating along these routes have faced ambushes, abductions, and the destruction of vehicles, even when traveling under armed escort. Malti. In response, Niger's Transport Ministry withdrew the licenses of 14 transport companies and 19 drivers. One operator was also suspended for 1 year. In a statement dated the 6th of January, Niger's Transport Minister Abdurrahman Amadou said the refusal to carry out the deliveries breached existing transport regulations. Those affected were
you're breaching the regulations and you're breaching terms of contract, he went on to say. Mr. Mbodj, I'm sure many of them, when they signed their contracts to deliver fuel, weren't expecting to kind of run the gauntlet of people who might kidnap or even kill them. And it seems rather harsh that people who are not willing to put themselves in the line of danger are now having their licenses revoked or they're suspended for up to a year.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
So absolutely, you hear that. The first question will be, is this the best way of dealing with the problem? You know what the problem is. Yeah. But we all know that if I'm going to have rules, then I should also worry about people's ability to comply with
those rules. Yeah,
isn't it really? You have to take it into account. Yeah. We all know the problems they face, the jihadists as a blockade, and they're completely merciless, aren't they? The stories, they'll kill you. So why would I take that risk?
Yeah,
you see, they're trying to rally around together, isn't it? This alliance of Sahel states and the difficulties that Mali's been facing, being landlocked. And the Senegal route, I think, this disrupted
also
as
been disrupted.
And
Absolutely.
Ivory Coast and because they've all been disrupted. So now they're resorting to this. But would it give you the outcomes that you want? That's another issue there.
Yeah, fine. So,
really.
So not exactly the best way to solve it, but we'll keep an eye on that one.
Well, if people cannot comply, or complying would mean putting your lives in danger. It doesn't make sense. It is irrational for anybody to do that. It's just very simple.
It's quite astonishing. But on that point, I think we end here. Thank you for your interjections throughout. And once again, apologies that Lamindi Sonko was not with us. But of course, I have to say thank you to you, the viewers, for staying with us. And yes, all those who greet us, both myself and Mbodj, in the streets and say how much you enjoy the program. Keep on doing so until we come your way again next week. Bye-bye.